Hello and welcome to another episode of Watchtower Examination, episode 1088. My name is Winston and I've never been a Jehovah's Witness. So much to do, so little time in which to do it. I said that to apologize to the many persons who commented on video 1086 that I have not responded to 99% of the comments. All I was able to do is just, and I sincerely do, I wondered when I was doing it if persons thought that, hey, just went through and just decided to give everybody a love. No. Because if you say something that I cannot agree with, I will not click on that heart to give you a love. So I've read every single comment that you see me giving a love. It's a comment that I've read and agree with, but I've not had the time to respond because there's so much that I want to say. But I'm trying so hard to get these videos out. I really want to comment on this matter I'm about to comment on now. I want to comment on a little bit more on the report that came from the grand jury after looking into the Catholic Church, to discuss with you, as I did the preview in video 1087, about the similarities between the Catholic Church and the Watchtower organization. It's as though they took their playbook on how they deal with sexual abuse of children from the Catholic Church. Then there's a very important video I want to make responding to something that Stephen Letts said in his broadcast in September. I am not through with it as yet, because he gave an advice to battered wives that I think need to be addressed. And it's not just the Watchtower who is wrong in their response to this, but the Watchtower is specifically wrong in how it is encouraging battered wives in their marriages. But there was one comment that was made on video 1086 that I decided to respond to in this video. And it was from one of my favorite commenters, Caribbean Man.
I think we need to moderate our expectations. I don't see the organization or its governing body coming to an end anytime soon. How many decades has it been since the Catholic Church has been exposed for covering up child sexual abuse? And that church is still standing.
We speak about the similarities between the Watchtower organization and the Catholic Church, but let us understand something. The Watchtower organization is not the Catholic Church. The Catholic population, worldwide population, is 1.5 billion. There are 8.4 approximately Jehovah's Witnesses in the world. It's a much, 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 much smaller organization than the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is a much older institution than is the Watchtower organization. The Catholic Church has done far more for humanity than Watchtower has done. The Catholic Church has built schools and hospitals. The Catholic Church has major charities that actually do good, not just to themselves. I remember a principal from a particular Christian school getting a lot of stuff from the Catholic Church, a Catholic charity rather. And he asked the man, do you realize that we are not Catholics? Because he felt it a little bit strange that the Catholic Church would give so much to a non-Catholic institution. And the priest responded, we do what we do, not because you are Catholic, but because we are. The Catholic Church is a major benefactor of many organizations across the world. the Pope is the most powerful man on earth. I've often heard people talking about the President of the United States being the most powerful man on earth. I speak as the United States as the greatest nation on earth. Some people debate that. I hold my position. The United States is the greatest nation on earth. But the President of the United States is not the most powerful man on earth. The most powerful man on planet earth is the Pope. Presidents, kings bow to the Pope. So a little scandal, I apologize. How dare I say a little scandal? A massive scandal about child sex abuse, as massive as it is. The thing gets me, when I read the grand jury's report and saw the atrocities that these priests did, especially ejaculating in the mouth of a 7-year-old. I cannot explain to you the rage that I felt inside. How can anyone be so absolutely cruel to a child? How can you do that to a... It is so sick. But as bad as it is, it does not compare to the millions of Christians who were slaughtered in the name of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has withstood much more than this. Can the Watchtower withstand when the news breaks? I think not. And to explain a bit more, I take the second paragraph of Caribbean Man's comment. Or before I do, there is another excessively important point about the Catholic Church. And this may be controversial to the Catholics out there. I may get a number of Catholics angry. But the Catholic Church is in Bible prophecy. The Bible tells us that the papacy will be around until Christ comes. So I do not expect that any sexual scandal is going to bring an end to the Catholic Church. I can't say the same for the Watchtower organization for a number of reasons. Oh, by the way, this is not a scripted video. I'm speaking impromptu because I'm remembering another important point that I thought to make, which is not yet made. I want to make a bit of clarification as I looked back on the last video, because notice that I mentioned the governing body being in trouble. I really don't expect the organization to go down as much as the governing body, even though as I watched the video I did speak a few times about the end of the organization, but it is possible. I suspect that the organization could hang on for a little while, but there's going to be a massive destruction of the faithful and discreet slave. This doctrine that the governing body is appointed by God and they are the faithful and discreet slave and they must be trusted like you trust God.
You fully trust in Jehovah, Jesus, and the faithful slave.
Now for the second paragraph.
And do not underestimate the power of indoctrination. Do not for a minute imagine that most Jehovah's Witnesses are going to see these shocking news reports and come to their senses. No. They will say it's persecution. They will say it's all lies by Satan's media, and stoked by apostates. Do not make the mistake of projecting your good sense and logical thinking onto Jehovah's Witnesses. The worst that will happen is that Jehovah's Witnesses will get a very bad reputation with the non-JW public, and a sizable minority of JWs will become disillusioned and leave.
My brother, I agree with you 100%. And I will say it to everyone. I've made the point in a video that the reason it is so hard to get through to Jehovah's Witnesses is because of the strength of the indoctrination. That's why I started the series this week's brainwashing ceremony or service. Because I have come to realize that we're really up against massive conditioning, massive brainwashing. These people go to the Kingdom Hall week after week after week after week to have the doctrine of this being Jehovah's organization implanted over and over and over again. It's not easy. If the indoctrination was not so deep, my brother would have been out already. It is because of the power of indoctrination why the shunning policy exists. It takes a lot. It is not easy for a mother to shun her son. As the Watchtower knows, as the Watchtower understands, as the Watchtower depicted in this scene.
I kept wondering how he was doing. Was he okay? Then, as hard as the past few weeks had been, it just got harder.
It's hard. And when we look at the other infamous video, the Sonia Erickson one.
They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice.
Look at the way she looked at her husband. If that were a single mother, she would have taken the call. But she's not just up against the organization. She's not just up against being shunned herself. She's up against her very husband. So she cannot do it. The indoctrination is so strong. But the point I'm making is that it's not easy. It's not easy for Jehovah's Witnesses to shun their relatives. But they do it because of the strength of the indoctrination. I will never underestimate it. But there's what is coming, my brother. What is coming, ladies and gentlemen, is greater than the strength of the indoctrination that the Watchtower organization has done. In 1919, there was a mass exodus. In 1925, there was another exodus. In 1975, there was another exodus. Whenever there is great disappointment in the Watchtower organization, they face an exodus. What is coming is greater than the strength of the Watchtower's indoctrination. Ladies and gentlemen, the Catholic Church did not go on a grand campaign telling Catholics not to believe reports in the media. The Catholic Church, if my memory serves me right, apologized for the atrocity against the children. The Catholic Church apologized for their atrocities against Christians who were slaughtered. The Catholic Church has owned its evil, accepted responsibility, and apologized. This organization has not. You talk about them talking about persecution. As I mentioned in the video, the persecution argument will not fly, and it's up to us to help Jehovah's Witnesses to see that it will not fly. The difference between 1914, 1925, and 1975 is that there was no internet. It is via that very medium that the news is going to go viral when it is broken in the United States. It hasn't really broken as yet, It is one thing when 4 witnesses are charged, as horrible as the crimes are. But when the governing body is now being sued in the United States, the governing body are being held accountable for the sexual abuse of children worldwide. This argument about
apostate-driven lies and dishonesties
cannot work against a grand jury report. It will be a very lame excuse for Jehovah's Witnesses to handle. So here are a few things that are going against the organization. First of all, go to jw.org and you will find a section where they are reporting on legal matters. Not once has the governing body educated Jehovah's Witnesses about the amounts they are paying out for sexual abuse. Go to the legal section at jw.org and see if there is any report on the Australian Royal Commission. Jehovah's Witnesses are not only going to wake up to the news that the governing body is in trouble, they are going to wake up to the news of how much was hidden from them. They are going to now see through why the organization was telling them so much not to believe reports in the media. They are going to see that the governing body was hiding things from them. It is not going to be an easy thing for the Watchtower to move along or to get along, to, moving right along. That's not going to be so easy. Think about the many Jehovah's Witnesses who are shunning persons who have been abused sexually. Imagine when they discover what they have done to that person. Please be reminded that each person in the XJW community knows many Watchtower members. The XJW community is the other bit of arsenal against the Watchtower. Because when the news breaks, I see a lot of things happening. I see a lot of apostates, quote unquote, being able to reach, quote unquote, Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses that they could not reach before. I see how it is going to become increasingly easy for me to reach my brother. Because let me tell you something. For as much as my brother loves the Watchtower organization, I am absolutely certain that he is going to be enraged when he sees what has been happening to these children. PIMO. P-I-M-O. Physically in, mentally out. What is the size of the PIMO army? The number of persons who are in that organization only because they want to keep their families. Do you see how they are going to be strengthened to now reveal to their relatives what they wanted to tell them all along? We are talking here, ladies and gentlemen, about a flood of information. A massive wave that is going to hit witnesses. That's going to shock their senses. How many Jehovah's Witnesses do you know are going to call it persecution when they discover that their elders, their brothers and their sisters have been sexually molesting children? That they have been disfellowshipping these people? What do you think is going to happen to them when they think about all this time when they are just hearing that someone is disfellowshipped and they don't know what the person is disfellowshipped for?
Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped.
Another thing to bear in mind is that gossiping is a big thing in the Watchtower organization.
Take responsibility. You see, even if you're not the source of a rumor, repeating it can make you guilty of spreading falsehood.
Now, it will not just be ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. It will not just be only PIMOs who will be bringing the news, but witnesses will be speaking to other witnesses about what they see on the news. My brother, I believe you are wrong on this one. And I hope it is not just wishful thinking, but there are so many reasons why this is going to be a very difficult pill for the organization to swallow. A very difficult thing for the governing body to survive. I give you another comment from Jerry 6075.
I recently had a JW couple at my door, and after relating to them that I used to believe in Catholicism, the woman says, "How about the priest-child sex abuse scandals?" I answered that Jehovah's Witnesses have their own child sex abuse problems, and that I saw the governing body as an equivalent of the Catholic Vatican.
There is something significant about this. Notice that at the very mention of this person being a former Catholic, the witnesses pounced on what? What was the first thing on their mind? The sexual abuse of children. Jehovah's Witnesses have this mindset that you cannot be a true religion if you are infamous for sexually abusing children. Bear that mindset in mind. Bear that is the average mindset of the average Jehovah's Witness. Imagine what's going to happen to them when they, on a grand scale, discover that their organization is pretty much like the Catholic Church and that the governing body was hiding it from them. Think about how Jehovah's Witnesses are going to feel when they think about how much they have donated to this organization, not knowing that their monies were going toward compensating victims of sexual abuse. The Watchtower organization is not the Catholic Church. We are not here speaking about some scandal that is going to be going viral on social media. We are talking about a grand jury that has taken testimony from multiple witnesses over a period lasting more than 2 years. We are talking about a grand jury in the United States making public what this organization has done. And when the governing body is being criminally indicted or the defendants in multiple lawsuits, let's see how they will fare. To you, ladies and gentlemen, to see if you can reconcile the level of betrayal that Watchtower members are going to feel when they discover what the governing body has done and weigh all of that against this.
Since Jehovah God and Jesus Christ completely trust the faithful and discreet slave,
our complete trust in the governing body.
All along, when they were telling you that God trusts them completely, they were hiding from you what they were doing to children. And let me talk a little bit more about this persecution thing that will not be able to fly. I said it in the video and I will say it again. Jesus said, "Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you and say all manner of things against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for so persecutest them the prophets which were before you." I am paraphrasing. I am not reading the text. Persecution of Christians, the many Christians who died under the Catholic regime, died for their faith in Jesus Christ. No Christians No Christian has ever been persecuted for molesting children. I don't care how brainwashed you are. I don't care about the strength of indoctrination. There are not many human beings who can make a logical statement that you are being persecuted for righteousness when people are talking about how you sexually abuse children. Paul wasn't persecuted for pedophilia. They didn't try to persecute John for abusing children. There is not one patriarch, not one prophet, not one apostle, not one messenger of Christ who's ever been persecuted for molesting children. It cannot fly. The XJW community will not let it fly. And speak about the worst case scenario being getting a bad reputation. How are they going to evangelize when that bad reputation becomes viral? The Watchtower organization is not the Catholic Church. And when it really comes down to it, Caribbean Man could be 100% correct, and I am 100% wrong. Because when push comes to shove, nobody can predict the future. Only God sees exactly what's going to happen. But I strongly believe that it is far more likely that the governing body, if not the organization, it is far more likely that the governing body will go down in disgrace than it is for them to survive what is coming. So in the end, let's all see. As a former prime minister of mine once said, we shall see what we shall see. Thanks for watching this video. Until the next one, do take very good care of yourselves. Subscribe to the channel and please do not take your health for granted.
May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.